Greetings sailors and welcome to a bit of bonus World of Warships gameplay, because I'm actually recording this on the same day that I've done my Panzer 3K review, and that was relatively quick to do, so I thought why not try recording something else. And I was actually playing Warships earlier on, had this game and decided I was going to do this one, and it's kind of relevant because of course the Dunkirk is coming along fairly soon. That's the video that went out today as of recording, and at tier 6 there's now actually quite a nice array of premium battleships to choose from. You've got the Arizona, which is definitely the one I would recommend to people looking for a good solid premium battleship that behaves like a battleship ought to behave, if you see what I mean. The Warspite is a little bit more specialised. A lot of people don't like just the incredible slowness of the turret traverse, if nothing else. However, in the most recent large patch, the armour model was changed around a bit. They made it... I don't know if it was like actually truly bugged before, or if they've just refined it a bit and made it a bit stronger, because that was one of the things they did with the American battleships generally. But either way, supposedly it's a bit more durable now, and it's still, it's still a battleship that plays like a battleship. It's not got that funny arrangement that the Dunkirk has, but that turret traverse plus the fact that it's not the fastest ship. I mean, it's faster than the Americans, but it's slower than the Fuso by a little bit, and definitely slower than the Dunkirk, means that it's a little bit awkward to play. I think mostly it's those turrets. That's mostly what it comes down to for a lot of people. It's also not got particularly good AA. It does, however, have very good secondaries, and that's the point of this game. Now, I played 2 games earlier on because I figured, I've not played this since the patch, so I'll give it a little whirl. First game was very, very tier 8, and that kind of sucked. It was a lot of Tirpitzes and North Carolinas, and I ended up in a situation where I was alone versus a Tirpitz and a Myoko, and at that point I was just doomed. So, I was still second place on the team, and we lost, despite having got to 990 victory points at one stage. But apart from that, it was not good. It was not really replay worthy. This, however, was the game right after, and the principal difference between the two is that previous game, terrible though it was, gave me enough XP on the captain to unlock advanced firing training. Now, the setup I've got on this, and you'll notice my secondaries have already started firing at that destroyer. I've got the secondary module on the ship, which gives extra range, I believe it is. I've got advanced firing training on the captain, although not basic firing training. So I've got the extra range, but not the extra rate of fire with the secondaries. And the flag, and I can't remember which flag it is, but the flag that gives you another extra 5% range. And all of that takes your secondary battery range out to, I think it's 7.3 kilometers. Now that's pretty damn good, and just the spread of the secondaries on this. I mean, the Warspite, the Queen Elizabeths generally, these are First World War vintage that were refitted, so they've got, along with, like the New Mexico and the Fuso, they've got this spread of secondary guns all along the side of the hull. So you get quite good coverage, unlike the Dunkirk, which has only got those turrets that are all at the back in an awkward position. So with that 7.3 kilometers, I mean, that's quite handy. You've got a decent number of them. They are all HE throwers, and if you get the appropriate skill, I mean, I really want the secondary manual captain skill on this, but that's a 5th point skill, so that's going to take a little while to get. But I suspect with that skill it's going to be even more hilarious. Now, not to give too big of a spoiler for the German line generally, but the Germans also tend to have good secondaries, and the Bismarck in particular, if you build it in the right way, if you put the right equipment on, it's going to be a little bit hilarious. Even more so than the Yamato, let's just put it that way. But anyway, at tier 6 though, the Fuso, not the Fuso, wow, the Warspite is pretty damn nice once you get AFT. And I think once I get the manual skill, I think I would take that over, say, the Concealment Expert. Then, yeah, absolutely, it's going to be even more hilarious. But there's one particular thing. I mean, this was just a perfect combination of circumstances. I'd got an AFT on the captain, and then there's something that's going to happen in this match that makes that 7.3 kilometers just work perfectly. And having said that, you might now guess what it is, but you know, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what it is that happens. And there we go, perfect timing. There's going to be a cyclone. And if you can figure out what that means, well, of course, visibility ranges drop, so by the time anybody gets to within render range of me, once the cyclone is in full blow, they're going to be within range of my secondaries, basically. Although this Mutsuki is seriously pushing his, Gnevny rather, seriously pushing his luck. I mean, he's actually within torpedo range, but they're so close range torpedoes that, like, he's trying to make the drop, but he's basically going to die in the attempt. And there's the torpedoes. Now, another good thing with the Warspite is it moves around really well, because it's a slower ship. It's got a really good turn radius, and it's also got a pretty decent rudder response. And there we go, my secondaries actually finish off that guy. So this is one of the good points, is that tracking destroyers with your turrets is difficult, but dodging the torpedoes is actually quite easy. Although, I might take one of those if they have the range, but with that spread, actually they're going to run out, aren't they? Yes, they are. Good. Anyway, so you combine that with having the biggest guns at tier 6 at the moment, because the Bayern, Bayern, there we go, somebody told me the correct way to pronounce it. The Bayern will also have 15-inch guns as well, but for now, this is it. You know, it's the Warspite, you know, just for a little while longer. So the guns are nice. They hit pretty hard. They've got decent accuracy. The biggest drawback is the fact that it has the worst range at tier 6. It's only got 16 kilometers. That's one of the reasons why in a tier 8 game, like the previous battle, it really does struggle badly, because everybody else outranges you. Even some of the cruisers you'll meet, the tier 7 and tier 8, will almost, if not definitely, outrange you. I imagine a lot of the tier 8 cruisers will, actually. Anyway, so visibility is really dropping now. We've actually, I mean, the middle cap point, we solidly have the north, and I'm down here with a couple of other ships, and we were contesting the south, but we've never really gotten that cap point. The middle, however, does change hands several times. So we've lost 3 ships apiece at the moment. It's looking relatively even, but we are quite ahead on points because we've had that middle cap point. Of course, they are capping it back now, but as myself and this other battleship are heading back towards our allies, and we can see from the mini-map that our allies are also heading down from the north. Well, if we can defend or even just retake B, then we should do okay. So the York pulls into render, and that means my secondaries can open up, and I'm full broadside to him at the moment, which is not so dangerous, but I don't, it's not something you want to really do that much, because those AP shells, those was it on the York, it's like 210mm shells, slightly over 8 inches, they can pose a threat. And of course the other thing with the Warspite is it burns very well, and you'll actually see that I do get the fireproof medal in this one. I take quite a lot of fire damage. Anyway, that looked like if I'd aimed maybe a little further back, I could have just wiped him out with citadels, but even so, it was not a bad salvo. And I'm still getting hits, even even with my ass towards it, I'm still getting secondary hits. So these secondaries, man. Now I am aware, of course, you know, German cruiser, he's going to have torpedoes, so I've turned away. That's fine. But lo and behold, talking of torpedoes, oh, there's a Mutsuki. That's the remaining destroyer, and I have got to be a little bit careful here because he's quite close. Now he does smoke, but he's also just powering through his smoke so quickly that he's actually he's remaining spotted, and you have to kill your speed and was it like 12.5 knots or less to be able to move through the smoke while it's being laid down. Otherwise you're just wasting your time, and he is basically just wasting his time. You can't power through your smoke in the same way. Now that is an improvement on how it was previously. They'd actually made some changes to smoke in a previous patch where it laid down the blobs of smoke in such a way that if you laid down smoke whilst moving, the moment you moved out of the smoke you would be spotted, even if you were actively laying down smoke. So it wasn't so much an improvement with 5.9.1 or whatever patch we're on now. Well, 5.9 I suppose really was the major patch, and then 0.1 was the kind of the minor patch afterwards. But yeah, it wasn't so much an improvement as it was fixing an issue, because it was an issue. So easily easily taking my path away from those torpedoes. That's fine. He was making a drop from behind me, which is by far the best way. You know, if you can get somebody to make drops while they are behind you, then it's not that difficult to dodge torpedoes. It's when they catch you broadside that it's a problem. So once again, cruisers, this time the Pensacola and the York. Well, he's very low health at this point. I actually fired some HE at him there because I, of course, was expecting to shoot at a destroyer, but still it did some damage. Now I'm actually angling away slightly, and that's because I can see on the mini-map that there is going to be another contact near the B circle that'll come up on very, very soon. Now we're actually just about to recap B, so that's fine. But I've taken a bit of damage in the process. However, my heal's about to come back. And that's another bright spot of the Warspite. You get a very, very powerful heal. In fact, I think it is basically the most powerful. And I don't even have the flag on the Warspite that gives you extra hit points when you heal. At least I don't think I do. I've generally saved that for my higher tier ships because I just don't play the Warspite that much. So the Matsuki pops out again, and I've got the secondaries opening up on both sides now, on both the Colorado and the Matsuki. And this is where the manual secondary skill will come in really, really useful. Although actually, for something like the Bismarck, I mean, I've already said it's going to be hilarious on the Bismarck. It might not necessarily be something you want because it will. The secondaries will only fire at the thing that you've got selected. Like in this case, I've got the secondaries firing from both sides. Now, the benefit of that manual skill is that your secondaries are more accurate. And there we go. I actually get, I think, fire damage on that Colorado from my secondaries, or I'm not sure. But anyway, because it was my main battery shots that killed him there. So yeah, that's the benefit you get. The secondaries get more accurate. I think they do a bit more damage. I can't remember exactly. But the downside is that your secondaries will only fire at the thing that you select. And there are times when it actually would be more beneficial to have, like you've got, in that kind of situation where you've got ships within secondary range on either side of you, it would be more beneficial then to have all of your secondaries firing, even if they're going to be less accurate. But of course, it being a captain skill, you just can't toggle it on and off or like that. You either have it or you don't. So I'm gonna try and get it on the Warspite because I think it could be quite nice. But in situations like that, you know, I probably would have selected the Matsuki over the Colorado. Generally speaking, a lot of the time, you're not going to have this set of circumstances. It is the Cyclone that has forced everybody to get so close, and that's meant my secondaries. We're up to over 50 secondary hits, and I'll let you guess at how much secondary damage I've done in this one. But yeah, it's. I think most of the time having the secondary skill on a Warspite captain would be beneficial, but there are going to be times when you wish you didn't have it, if you did have it. And I think the same will go for the Bismarck as well, and just the other German battleships generally, because they generally have good secondaries. I can kind of talk about them in terms of stats now. So, with that final Fuso kill, I ended the match. That was enough points to win. 1800 base XP, not spectacular, but fairly solid. And on the detailed damage screen, we shall see that I did 92k damage with my primary batteries, and I got a bonus 20,000, just over 20,000 from the secondaries. 10,000 from hits alone, and another almost 10,000 from fires set by the secondaries. So that was just like bonus 20,000 damage. You know, I'll take it. So for a first game with AFT, that was pretty successful. I definitely want BFT on this as well at some point, but I'll get that 5th point captain skill first. So yeah, Warspite. I mean, I'd still say Arizona, the Arizona is the best overall, the best sort of all-rounder to get as a tier 6 premium battleship, but Warspite's not that far behind. It's just, you have to be aware of its shortcomings. And the Dunkirk, well, I just did a whole video on that, and if you haven't seen it, you should definitely go and watch it. So hopefully you've enjoyed this bonus replay, and if you have, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.